with Dickens, it's hard for any audience to not take something away from it. It's a story that covers, I know it's set in 1810, but it's relevant to the modern day. It's, you know, Pip's rise from reasonable poverty into quite a wealthy lifestyle. But what was the cost? What does he lose? And as we go through Pip's story, his relationships with other characters come into question, and he doesn't always behave in the most admirable manner. And I think that's a story that's still relevant to a modern day audience.
Well, I think the challenges are to be very clear on what you're trying to achieve with each character, and ways in which you can make them quite different vocally, the way they present themselves to other characters in the play. So Pumblechook is very large, comic. Wemmick is very pleasant, very friendly, quite wise in his own way.
Okay. Is there one that you identify with a little bit more?
I think I'd probably find someone like Pumblechook easier to play because he's so large and grand. So you can... Wemmick requires a bit more subtlety, I think.
Biddy's very sweet, she's very generous, she's kind of the opposite to Estella. She's the good person that Pip should be with, but he goes for the bad girl.
Okay.
As often happens.
As often happens, okay. So could you tell me a little bit about what happens in the play and how it centres around your character?
With my character, she's mainly in Pip's younger life when before he comes into his fortune. She's really there to serve as showing what his life could have been like if he'd never met Miss Havisham, if he'd never fallen in love with Estella. She's kind of the route things could have gone down.
Well, the basic vision is to get the historical period right, and it's an interesting one because it cuts across 3 different periods. It starts when Pip is a child, and this is very much Regency, so the people in the first half are in the high-waisted sort of costumes of that period, and then we move in the second half into the 1830s. The exception, and getting into my favourite costume, is Miss Havisham, because if she has been jilted 20 years before, then that puts her back at the end of the 18th century, which is a much more elaborate style. So the beauty of that costume is to do something really elaborate and then break it down, so it looks like she's been wearing the same costume for the last 20 years.
Well, the major role is the soldier, obviously. This dominates the early part of one scene, and then in the second half I have several pages of dialogue as Herbert Pocket, who's something like his friend and confidant in London, you know. But that's really, I put a lot of the effort into soldier.
And the soldier, yes, I've noticed that during rehearsals, What was that line that you say?
Oh, helloa.
Hello, yes.
And actually I had to fight quite hard to get that line put into some of the Herbert
oh, really?
scenes.
So you also say that line
I prepared the line quite heavily,
Oh, very nice.
And vaguely interesting, I suppose, I also play Herbert as a young person who is perhaps even more ridiculous as he tries to fight. First of all, tries to fight Pip by impersonating a bull and failing to have a boxing match, and then come back as his friend in London. And so he's bubbly and full of energy.